Hello, everyone. I'm Rob Smith, the In the Black VTF here at T3 Live with this week's market wrap up, and we got them but good this week, I tell you. There was a lot of chop shop, there was a lot of waiting for the news, but in the end, SPY resolves higher, and you can see on the daily, oh yeah. Oh, it's up too much. Oh, this time it's going to roll over. Stop them out. Bam. Oh, this time it's going to roll over. Stop them out. Bam. Oh, this time it's really going to roll over. Bam. Right back to the upside. And so what we started off to know is we knew that most actionable signals are to the upside this month. We had a test in the Qs, but if you take a look at this, that here you've got your inside month and up, and I've talked about that just like here. August, September, October, up. Boom. January, February, inside, now back up. And so that held very well. If we go back to that daily here, what we had was a little corrective action in here. We had an inside day. Go to the downside. That's what we can expect. A little exhaustion, then down, then inside in front of the news, and then outside day, and then a triangle expansion. And so what we're looking at, as I've been talking about for a year since I've been here, when we know that news is coming out, we can expect an outside bar. All right, and that's exactly what we got. If we go back to that 30 here on the SPY, you get your broadening formation, tightening here. Tighten inside day here. Tighten it up. Let's take the shorts out. Let's take the longs out on both sides, and let's come right back to the middle, go inside, and then expand the volatility. So when you get a lot of people, when you get used to things contracting in here, have a real tough time getting long once they start coming back up into here. But that's exactly when you want to do it, because this is the volatility contracts, it expands, it contracts by going inside and then going on its merry way. So one of the great things about being able to watch stuff like this, when you know that this action, we can expect this action, is that we can watch all the broader averages to see what type of signals we get with the QQQ. You've got, and the Dow Jones Diamonds all looking very similar, the up, the down, and the small cappers. And so what we got out of the small cappers here on the 15, when we knew that this triangle was kicking in, here, let's take a look-see. So we know we can expect the triangle here, tight, up, and then back down. And so as things start to come back down off of this stuff in here, like so, and like, hello, bottom of the triangle. But when it starts falling apart here, inside 15, boom, measured move, inside 15, continuation, real nice stuff. And so we didn't have all that in the other ones, but when you look at across the four, you'll get those signals, be it 5, 15, or something like that. And then as we got to the bottom yesterday, if we take a look at the Qs triangle in here, if we went to the inside 60, oh yeah, we've been watching this triangle for a while. Inside 60 calls the low. Boom, straight back up inside 60, and we gap up and measured move here today and start moving higher again. So, like I said, we're looking at a bunch of those monthly signals that were still in force for the most part, even though we were chopping around. The hardest part was waiting, because we opened the week at 199.36, and we spent a good portion of the week right there, right in here, chopping around it. So whether we're going to go up or down for the week, so we didn't really resolve until today. So a lot of that kind of stuff. So if we take a look at, when we look at the overall market, and people just look at the SPY and be like, I think the SPY looks like this. I don't care what you think when you just look at the SPY, because you want to look at everything that we've been talking about all year. So even though when the SPY did this, here starts coming in a bit, what have we been noticing? We've been noticing little old Dow theory thing called utilities. No problems here, still going. If you look at XLP, here, still going, and all that. That's showing us that even in these defensive, even in these down moves, money's going into defensive. That means the money is not completely coming out of the market. It's still rotating into sectors. Another thing that we got going this week was a crude oil, and with the USO here, talked about this broadening formation, lows in here, and now trying to get through here. Inside day yesterday. Now gaps and sits right on there, but it's taken out last month's highs. That's one important part. And so anytime you have this type of move here, even if it sits here, it doesn't have to really rip just to try and get those energy names going. Also, when we look at this, I've talked about this many times, you don't want to just play the USO, maybe you're trading the crude itself, but really the bang for the buck is your DWTI and your SCO, because we know that those things are inside month to the downside. And this is a real nice move on the monthly in SCO. real nice stuff to keep an eye on that. So we want to go towards those as opposed to like USO because they're also decaying assets, which is great. And so if you looked at also the XME and all the commodities rally, and so even natty gas, which is, beaten down pig, and you go the UNG, which is a poor proxy for it. But even a move like this gets that DGAS to do this, decaying asset puker. And so this has been very nice this week too. You had an inside day short, boom, gaps down here, and maybe you can bring in a little bit here because we got no new actionable signal. But certainly keeping on that when all the commodities start going, even these ones that shouldn't go sometimes can give you a little pop, and that's what we saw. So when we look back to the energy sector itself, XLE, you can see how, once again, inside month to the upside. That's still in force. We have XOP, inside month and up slightly, and so ERX, if you want more bang for the buck, right there, still inside and up, and on the week, or on the month. And then if we take a look at the 60-minute chart, you're going to see this here. It's also important to remember these broadening formations, once they go, become support. Here's your broadening formation 60 ERX, comes down, test support, off to the races. If you look at the daily, you're going to see this. You hear me talk about reversal strats? That's what we had on the dailies in the ERX and the XLE and the XOP. Inside day slightly takes it to the downside, comes back up, just barely stops them out, and then jams them here today. That was real nice, XLE, and all that kind of stuff we had going. So that was real good. So the question here going forward is, and let's take a look at the SPY 30. I want to show you once again how this triangles become support. And SPY 30 on this morning here, you see this triangle became support. It gapped right up on it. So when you see people drawing horizontal lines for levels, that's not correct, because things will tend to start moving and expanding in volatility. That's why it's like this, right? And so when it came up here, inside 30 to open the day, inside 15er. So any of these guys here is like, oh, it's going to roll over. I know, we'll short it. Guess where their stop goes? Here and on the high of the day. So when we took out this 15er, you're inside 15, which triggered inside 30 and up. Full time frame continuity because you're trading above all openings. And thanks for playing. Stop them out, gone. All right, so I just wanted to point that out a little bit for you. So the question is, going forward, the Qs were really kind of sluggish here and finally started going. Comparatively, and you can see on the daily it was doji, outside bar, and now trying to make that real move towards the upside. So whenever you have a rally like you're seeing in the SPY like this, and being like, okay, what could keep this going? If you're just looking at this, oh, it's overexpanded, it's whatever it is. Yeah, wrong. You want to look at all the things here in the SPY and the Qs that could keep taking it up. So one of the things that's been laggard since January in the Qs is them Fanger stocks. And now if you start to look at the Google, starting to get a little more constructive, starting to come up through this stuff here, and it's not ideal. It's still inside month, but you can see how they're starting to, my charts have a lot of lines on them. They're starting to come back, working back up. Higher level triangle here. If you look at Facebook was doing the grind. Then we bring them in, stop them out. Now it can start moving back higher. If you go Netflix is still just slow grinder now. Inside weak to see if we can get out of this big triangle. So we'll see if this is a rest before more ripping, or is this move going to exhaust and come back down. So we're watching the inside week in Netflix. Even Apple here goes inside week and still inside month to the upside. So if you want to get those Qs going, certainly that kind of stuff could get it going. And Amazon here still doing the slow creeper here, but you can see how comparatively just slow creepers, but we know these babies can wake up real fast. So if you can combine watching those with the IBB, which has been a pig, as you can see, doing nothing. However, what you're noticing here, or you will notice here in a second, is that you have an inside day today, right? So we've contraction and volatility here, real tight, but for the week, outside week. And so we want to know either side of that outside week. That's an expansion in volatility. And oftentimes, like I said, at that time, people will be like, oh, I can't chase it. I'm going to be chasing it. No, that's when you want to go after it because you there's a couple things about psychology about how people read charts. And so when things are slow, your software will tend to draw the bars much bigger, right? And so the first initial break looks huge, and you're like, oh my God, and you pull it out to a monthly chart, it's not doing anything. So although it might look like a huge move, it's not. So when this starts to go expanding outside of this, we want to know about that. That's going to have a big influence on whether these cues can really start going with the Fanger. And you got an inside day, outside week to start on that for next week. You've got VRX over there as an inside week, and we know that's been a lot of eyeballs on that thing, so we can keep an eye on that. Another thing I wanted to point out in the energies once again is that because we know that these triples can depreciate, you might want to also watch the ERY here instead of trying to trade those other things long. The ERY here, you can see this big weekly triangle, and that would resolve down around 15 if it really completely made that. It's also the shooters down, stuff like that, because if we go over to the financials, FAS, you can see this now, monthly hammering up and coming in next week. Momentum hammer weekly here. And you remember that momentum hammer in the SPY on the weekly? Right here? Yeah, so we want to know about that. And so conversely here, you can look at FAZ and maybe get a little more bang for your buck if you go to, see how some of these things move. Maybe it was a 30 today. Here, where was it? 60. Inside 60 down here. So inside 60 down here. This took the inside 60 from 45.02 down to 44.36 as opposed to trying to go FAS, which is just going up, a little bit here and stuff like that. So you might want to continue to watch those as opposed to the bull stuff just because of their decay. So getting back to those financials, though, inside weeks going to tell some of the tales here. We got Bank of America as an inside week. You got JP Morgan as an inside week. You've got Wells Fargo. You got Citicorp. All these inside weeks there. Goldman Sachs here. So if we can get those things going, that certainly can help the market as well, obviously. If we take a look at the trannies here, inside week for IYT. And so we can look at FedEx because FedEx is an inside week. It's also above the inside month, so we'll be looking for that stuff like that for follow-through. If we go to gold real quick, gold, a lot of people saying it's topping out. We don't know that because gold is going inside week here. Nuggets going inside week as well. And so that nugget, the thing about the nugget is just the moves in there are so large that you can go back and forth either way on that usually. If you go, let's get a 60, see if we can see anything in here. So you got an inside 60 up here, inside 60 slight down, stuff like that. But you can keep an eye on this thing because anytime you have something that can trade between 70 and 52 on a 60-minute chart, that's something you want to try and be involved in. So one more thing that we had, when you have news hit during the day, something like an Acor today, you want to be able to get on some of those shorter term moves. And if you look at the 3-minute chart on this Acor, we had some real nice trades in here. This news hits, it goes down, goes inside 3, short off the inside 3. Cover off the highs of any 3, then another inside 3, bam, inside 3 back up, inside 3 back down, inside 3, and then it started to fizzle out there. But some real nice trades there. So remember, when things are really active, you can take your time frames down, trade on a 1-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute chart. Slower they are, you want to get some more of those 60s and have stuff like that. But certainly when you're looking at anything, you want to start at the monthly chart, you want to go to the weekly chart, then the daily chart, and then when you have a good decision out of those longer term charts, can you start to look at those smaller term time frames because you want to have the bigger picture. Otherwise, you're going to get caught up in what I call the vortex of the intraday chart, and then you're going to get run over when the real move happens because you're not looking at the grander scheme of things. So right now, as we finish off the week, the SPY is still inside month and up and coming up into here, but going out on the highs. And whenever you go out on the highs, everybody's going to say how great it looks. Can't argue with that when it goes on the highs, but we've got a lot of these inside weeks and financials that got to resolve. You got an IBB that's still stuck in the mud and some sketchy FANG that we want to see if there's anything follow through from there. We want to see if there's crude oil, if there's how robust this rally continues to be. That's really going to affect a lot of stuff. And I believe we got Miss Yellen coming out next week, and that always sets us up for another triangle. So we want to see how that goes. All right, I hope everybody got a great week. I'm Rob Smith of the Black VTF here, T3 Live. Live. I'd like to welcome Steve LeVay back to the T3 Live team. He'll be starting back with us next week. I make a weekend video every weekend, and you can find that on my YouTube. It's Smith and the Black, all one word, or at my Twitter at Robin the Black. So I hope to hear from you there and get you some information so you can see all that. Okay, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. I'm Rob Smith in the Black VTF here at T3 Live with another market wrap up.